The Awakening of the Chosen. Chapters 1. The Weight of Inequality and the Authority of Truth. It's amazing how the weight of others' deeds could cause us to feel choked at times of great pain and injustice. The emotional impact may be terrible when our reputation is dirty, not from our faults, but from jealousy, animosity, or mistrust on the side of others. Being misinterpreted hurts, especially when these false narratives try to shape our actual selves. Some people find such incidents demotivating, but what we really need to keep in mind is that these situations do not define us. Actually, they mirror people who produce them, their own weaknesses and inner strife. From this vantage point, it is clear that there is an unquestionable power keeping us steadfast even in the middle of turmoil. At this time, the value of resilience and faith really shines. The morning is irresistible regardless of the gloom of the night. Though in the heat of the moment we frequently overlook the ways God operates, with time everything becomes evident. Being a God of equity, He can discern what is concealed and stop the spread of lies. This fact is rather freeing. Knowing that there is a higher power working for our good helps us to relax even if everything appears to be against us. Those who spread lies might seem successful for a while, but this never holds true. Divine justice is unchangeable. Sooner or later, those who sought to destroy us will pay consequences for their actions. Realizing how these hardships could serve as the basis for our spiritual development makes this journey even more lovely. Maintaining a strong position in the face of slander is not easy, but it is exactly at this point when actual strength shows out. It's about being loyal to what we know to be in our hearts, not about persuading others. This is not a simple chore, as I know. I have come across situations where I felt misled, misinterpreted, and harshly assessed. And what I came to see is that the weight only becomes heavier when we battle from our own power. But when we hand this fight to God, we discover a peace that is irrational, but absolutely real. Knowing that these agonizing events mark a beginning rather than a death has a very strong influence. Every humiliation, every nasty remark, every effort to throw us off balance may be turned into power for something much more. Originally an effort at destruction, it becomes an opportunity for rebuilding, not any reconstruction, but one in line with the divine will. We usually only come to see this in hindsight. Right now, everything seems to be anarchy. Still, even if we didn't know the whole image, we saw as we retreated that the parts always fit together. Thinking back on the evolution of these tales makes me motivated. One must realize that everyone has an inner power that gets above any outside obstacle. Many times, we become confused attempting to explain ourselves or try to modify people's impressions of us. The truth is, however, we do not have to behave in this manner. Reality constantly finds a means of expression, forever. When it shows itself, it delivers the justice mankind so much yearns for. One should also take into account what these situations expose about the persons responsible for them. Why would someone set out to ruin another? It is exactly the reverse, not because the aggressor is less than. Many times, persons who propagate lies are trying to compensate for what they see to be a deficiency in themselves. They choose to attack us instead of committing themselves to their life. They recognize in us what they wish for or dread. This underlines the fact that the problem was never ours, not so validating them. Always about them was it. This consciousness helps us to release resentment and hatred in addition to clarifying things. Realizing we do not have to carry the weight of. Have you ever stopped to wonder why, despite all your achievements, it feels like something essential is still missing? My name is Gabriel, and I've helped countless people like you discover the true spiritual power that resides within them. And today, I want to help you. If you feel like life is passing by while something important remains out of place, maybe it's time for an awakening. My audiobook, The Path of the Chosen, was created precisely for those who have reached this point. In this audiobook, I guide you to feel that enthusiasm for living in alignment with what truly matters, knowing that every step has meaning. Together, will transform your fears, traumas, and frustrations into powerful strengths that propel you to a new level of growth. Leave behind the feeling of spiritual isolation and find the peace of a true, constant connection with a greater energy that has always been by your side. Instead of fighting against what you feel, you'll learn to find purpose, serenity, and self-discovery to fill your inner world. This could be the beginning of a fuller, more meaningful life. I've seen it happen for so many others, and now it's your turn. Don't let this opportunity slip by. Click on the link pinned in the first comment and begin this journey with the path of the chosen. This is your chance to fill what's missing and finally live the life you deserve. I'll be waiting for you there. Difficult circumstances. Knowing that my identity belongs to God rather than anybody else helps me every day, as it reminds me that nothing else matters. This is a reality we can live if we choose to believe and give our conflicts to Him. It is not a theoretical idea or a faraway notion. Everybody has their own path, their own challenges, and their own worries. Still, every one of us has the capacity to overcome challenges. We may find the heavenly grace and inner power right here. And that, my friends, captures real success. Not the end of the battles, rather the confidence that we never fight alone. I hope everyone the chance to find this truth and use it as a compass for our life. We start to realize that the moment of divine justice is ideal when we realize God moves quietly among turmoil. Even if layers of lies cover it, the truth always finds a way to show up. God does not act in a hurry. Rather, He operates with accuracy, so we cannot rush or attempt to influence the direction of events. He sees all, knows the ideas of hearts, and acts to guarantee that His justice is implemented holistically and for a long-lasting effect. Usually we overlook this when we are in the heart of a storm. God advises us to trust in His own timing and to wait patiently while He works. We want fast solutions and evil to be corrected right away. Actually, one of the main challenges in handling injustice is patience. Waiting when we hear falsehoods about ourselves or while our attitudes are misread may be difficult. Our natural impulse is to try to respond to the assault, prove our innocence, or straightforwardly change circumstances. Still, knowing that we are not fighting this war by ourselves will really help us to grow. Every instant we choose not to respond, every time we choose quiet rather than retribution, we are letting God guard us. He never quits a battle either. It's amazing how God transforms our seeming worst failure into our best witness. He not only shields us, but also raises us in such clear and unquestionable manner that even those who transgressed us are compelled to see the truth. This is why we should not give up in front of difficulty. Though we are not aware of it, a divine plan in action is being accomplished. This reminds me of tales of people who faced public humiliations, times when all seemed over, but who, with time, became more strong and brilliant than ever. We cannot generate on our own this energy or this brightness. Driven by faith, fortitude, and the feeling that God is in control, it is something inward. Choosing to trust Him means letting Him mold us and equip us for something better, even without knowing all the specifics. And nobody could pilfer from us anything like that. Words, deeds, or efforts notwithstanding everything else, our relationship with God and our nature never changes. This is, to me, one of the best ways to show power, the capacity to stick to who we are, entire and faithful, even when the surroundings attempts to knock us off. Examining these situations also reveals that they contribute to our growth. Adversities are meant to guide, shape, and strengthen us, not to destroy us. It is not easy, of course. Nobody desires to go through times of injustice or hardship. Ultimately, however, we know that these times equip us for the next phase of our path. God never dismisses suffering. He brings us closer to the objective He wants for our life by using every tear, every challenge. And this goal transcends merely our own. Many times, our path of conquering inspires those in such conditions. Imagine that the struggle we are currently engaged in may be just what someone needs to hear in the future to have hope. Our faith, our tenacity, our dedication to the truth, all of which together provide a striking monument to what God can do in a human life. It also intrigues me how God utilizes these events to teach us the actual significance of individuals in our life. We typically discover who really has our backs during times of slander or rejection. Though not easy, it is a necessary chore. God sometimes lets us let certain individuals go from our life as they are not in line with His will. It is initially challenging, but with time we realize that our growth depends on this cleaning. The knowledge that our identity is not shaped by what others believe or say about us is one thing I would like everyone reading this message to include into their life. Our identity is derived from the person God describes, and He speaks of us cherished, chosen, priceless. Focusing on this fact helps us not to be shaken. Though falsehoods and objections could show up, our basis is always the same. I so wish to inspire every one of you to meet your obstacles with fresh ideas. Try to observe what God may be saying instead, than emphasizing suffering or injustice. What, you wonder, can I get from this? How may this prepare me for something more significant? Above all, however, keep hope that God is working even if you do not yet see it. At the right moment, He is guiding, modifying events, and revealing the truth. Though it is not easy, the road is very transforming. On the other side, what shows up is something exquisite, strong, and very meaningful. From this point of view, we realize that our power comes from God rather than from ourselves. Hence, there is nothing able to really knock us off. And my friends, this enthusiasm is almost unbounded. Even in the worst of circumstances, it is what drives us, leads us, and raises us. Thus, let us keep on knowing that justice, truth, and light will always win. Second chapter, the grace of detachment and the charm of resilience. One rather amazing attribute is resilience. It is like a flame that keeps burning even amid strong opposite winds. We start to cherish our peace, our balance, our connection with the divine purpose by separating ourselves from negative surroundings and people. Usually seen as solitude, this distance is really a secret gift. It gives us the time we need to review, refresh, and straighten our path in line with God's will. How frequently do we find ourselves caught in situations or environments that saps our vitality? This happens when, among turmoil, we cannot clearly sense how these relationships affect our soul. Still, we start to see the difference when we back off and create room for breathing and reconnection with our essence. Although it is difficult to sever relationships or separate oneself from something that formerly had great significance, it is essential as our growth relies on it. The power of resilience is exactly in its capacity to turn suffering into energy. Every challenge surmounted, every lie conquered, every critical glance passed becomes a brick in the building of an unquestionable personality. And this modification is not disregarded. People around us start to see. Those who used to trust in lies now amaze and surprise themselves, unable to ignore the light emanating from a life changed and in harmony with God. This process produces tangible evidence of the power of faith and the intentional choice for light. That is, a spiritual, emotional, and bodily change. The outcomes of our decision to invest in our growth and trust God show themselves unavoidably. Every prayer, every moment of discipline, every choice to cut off ourselves from what no longer benefits us seems to be a seed put in rich soil. Right now, we are enjoying the results. The lies that once seemed to be so important no longer have impact. They lose their power when we face the reality showing itself in our behavior and path. You have no need proving anything to anybody or defending yourself. The advancements speak for themselves. There is no way to hide the brightness of spiritual rebirth with useless words. Those who before questioned, assessed misleading narratives are now under pressure to change their mind. Not by confrontation, but rather by undeniable evidence of transformation. And that is the reason this trip is so significant. It's about using challenges as a fuel for development, rather than just conquering them. Every obstacle surmounted puts us closer to our natural destined for. This is a trip that is not easy, but very fulfilling. Looking forward, we understand that hardship did not define us. They built us, strengthened us, and enabled us to see our actual worth. When we choose to trust God, this new phase of life, in which the past fades and the present shines with divine grace, is evidence of what He can do. Though the road has been difficult, what matters most is where we are right now. We are living out the grace, fortitude, and faith strength. Nobody has the right to take away from us this. What really strikes me is how this transformation not only helps ourselves, but also motivates others. Attentive people, even those who live far away, cannot ignore what is occurring. Our development turns into a lighthouse pointing others on their own road. It reminds us that there is always a road to go over obstacles regardless of their kind. And this road starts with our choosing to believe in God and in our own capacity. Choosing the light helps us to realize that, even in the middle of darkness, the challenges we face mark the beginning of something better, rather than the conclusion. Every challenge appears to provide an opportunity to strengthen our faith, increase our will, and get us much closer to our goal. This suggests that the wars have goals rather than that they are straightforward. Understanding this helps us to entirely perceive them differently. Not only does this transformation show to others, but also to ourselves. We start to see variations, more linked, more aligned, more serenity. We feel as if a weight has been taken from our plates so that we may walk more gently and securely. This renewing is a divine gift, proof that God is with us at every turn. The past loses its power to influence us. It is painful and full of challenges. It becomes merely a sloshful of the narrative, something that has brought us to this point but does not define us. Conversely, the present turns into an honoring of resilience, grace, and strength. When we believe God and in ourselves, we have an opportunity to live profoundly, radiate brilliantly, and show the world what is possible. From this event, I want you to carry away that resilience goes beyond only overcoming challenges to include flourishing even in their presence. It's about realizing every challenge offers an opportunity for development, education, and transformation. It is about choosing the light, even if darkness appears to be all around. Above all, it is about realizing that God is constantly by our side, directing every step, safeguarding every deed, and getting ready a future beyond our expectations. This confidence in God, and in the process of change, enables us to realize that nothing occurs by accident. Every distance, every loss, every struggle is basic on the road to becoming the persons we were meant to be. Though first lonely, as we leave poisonous surroundings, we come to see that loneliness, in this context, does not mean isolation, but rather safety. Away from the forces trying to stifle our spirits, God seems to have assigned us a safe zone where we may heal, grow, and develop. Despite initially seeming difficulty, this period of time turns out to be a necessary gift. We find the solutions we were before unable to grasp amid stillness and reflection. At this stage, we start the reconciliation with our essence, our values, and our goal. We come out of this season of rebirth more strong, more conscious, more in touch with what is really important. It's interesting to see how this shift causes unanticipated responses in others close by. People who used to criticize us or doubt our capacity are starting to see something different. Though kids may not completely grasp the transformation, they nonetheless see it. Unquestionably, the light emanating from someone who has attained serenity and purpose is different. This light is the mirror of heavenly kindness, a tangible evidence that persistence and faith may guide us to places that appeared too far off. This transformation also guides us on the need of emancipation and pardon. Choosing not to carry resentment for what has been done or spoken to us lets divine grace operate in our life. Forgiveness guarantees that we do not carry these frustrations with us, not a means of justification or erasure of the acts of people who hurt us. Aware that God will handle all injustices much more effectively than we could, this is a show of trust and self-esteem. The consequences of the choices we make during trying times stretch well beyond our own life. When we decide to shine, even in the dark, we become a lighthouse for those negotiating their own storms. Our narrative transcends mere overcoming to include the transforming power of religion. Even if they live far away, this motivates, excites, and strengthens everyone observing. Unquestionably, a changed life affects everyone around it. We sow hope in hearts that may be worn out, demoralized, or ready to give up as we keep at our objective and demonstrate that it is possible to flourish even in the face of hardship. Our progress reminds us that while everything appears to be against us, there is a road to success, and nobody is alone in their problems. Still, this success goes beyond mere goal attainment or overcoming of outside challenges. It is an interior success, a transformation that will help us to become much closer to God and our actual selves. It is about realizing that we are loved, valued, and sheltered, even in the midst of lies, assessments, and problems. It is about realizing that God owns our identity. It does not belong to us, and nobody else can take from us that. Analyzing our path from this angle helps us to value even the most negative events. They cease being just causes of sorrow and start to be tools for growth and education. Every tear dropped, every desperate prayer whispered, every choice not to give up forms who we become. This individual also is more strong, more informed, more in line with the divine goal. Once so thick, the past lacks the capacity to support us. It turns into a story of success, something we should be proud of because we have conquered. And the present, this haven of rejuvenation and peace, turns into a location to mark the future phases of our trip and thank heavenly favor. Not under uncertainty or anxiety, but rather with conviction and belief. It is important to underline that this process of transformation does not go straight forward. There will be unsure times, tiredness, the need to go back. But when we decide to go on, even in the face of hardship, we are moving even another step toward the direction God has prescribed for us. And He never leaves us. He is there, ready to pull us upward and guide us back to the proper road, in challenges. It becomes merely a sloshful of the narrative, something that has brought us to this point, but does not define us. Conversely, the present turns into an honoring of resilience, grace, and strength. When we believe God and in ourselves, we have an opportunity to live profoundly, radiate brilliantly, and show the world what is possible. From this event, I want you to carry away that resilience goes beyond only overcoming challenges to include flourishing even in their presence. It's about realizing every challenge offers an opportunity for development, education, and transformation. It is about choosing the light, even if darkness appears to be all around. Above all, it is about realizing that God is constantly by our side, directing every step, safeguarding every deed, and getting ready a future beyond our expectations. This confidence in God and in the process of change enables us to realize that nothing occurs by accident. Every distance, every loss, every struggle is basic on the road to becoming the persons we were meant to be. Though first lonely, as we leave poisonous surroundings, we come to see that loneliness, in this context, does not mean isolation, but rather safety. Away from the forces trying to stifle our spirits, God seems to have assigned us a safe zone where we may heal, grow, and develop. Despite initially seeming difficulty, this period of time turns out to be a necessary gift. We find the solutions we were before unable to grasp amid stillness and reflection. At this stage, we start the reconciliation with our essence, our values, and our goal. We come out of this season of rebirth more strong, more conscious, more in touch with what is really important. It's interesting to see how this shift causes unanticipated responses in others close by. People who used to criticize us or doubt our capacity are starting to see something different. Though kids may not completely grasp the transformation, they nonetheless see it. Unquestionably, the light emanating from someone who has attained serenity and purpose is different. This light is the mirror of heavenly kindness, a tangible evidence that persistence and faith may guide us to places that appeared too far off. This transformation also guides us on the need of emancipation and pardon. Choosing not to carry resentment for what has been done or spoken to us Let's divine grace operate in our life. Forgiveness guarantees that we do not carry these frustrations with us, not a means of justification or erasure of the acts of people who hurt us. Aware that God will handle all injustices much more effectively than we could, this is a show of trust and self-esteem. The consequences of the choices we make during trying times stretch well beyond our own life. When we decide to shine, even in the dark, we become a lighthouse for those negotiating their own storms. Our narrative transcends mere overcoming to include the transforming power of religion. Even if they live far away, this motivates, excites, and strengthens everyone observing. Unquestionably, a changed life affects everyone around it. We sow hope in hearts that may be worn out, demoralized, or ready to give up as we keep at our objective and demonstrate that it is possible to flourish even in the face of hardship. Our progress reminds us that while everything appears to be against us, there is a road to success and nobody is alone in their problems. Still, this success goes beyond mere goal attainment or overcoming of outside challenges. It is an interior success, a transformation that will help us to become much closer to God and our actual selves. It is about realizing that we are loved, valued, and sheltered, even in the midst of lies, assessments, and problems. It is about realizing that God owns our identity. It does not belong to us, and nobody else can take from us that. Analyzing our path from this angle helps us to value even the most negative events. They cease being just causes of sorrow and start to be tools for growth and education. Every tear dropped, every desperate prayer whispered, every choice not to give up forms who we become. This individual also is more strong, more informed, more in line with the divine goal. Once so thick, the past lacks the capacity to support us. It turns into a story of success, something we should be proud of because we have conquered. And the present, this haven of rejuvenation and peace, turns into a location to mark the future phases of our trip and thank heavenly favor. Not under uncertainty or anxiety, but rather with conviction and belief. It is important to underline that this process of transformation does not go straight forward. There will be unsure times, tiredness, the need to go back. But when we decide to go on, even in the face of hardship, we are moving even another step toward the direction God has prescribed for us. And He never leaves us. He is there, ready to pull us upward and guide us back to the proper road, in every fall and in every setback. We shall discover on this road that what others say or think of us is not what really has worth. What God expresses and reflects is the fundamental thing. He names us as chosen, loved, and worthy. When we center this reality, nothing can knock us down. Our power comes from an unbounded source. We are more resilient than we could ever dream. Thus, remain on your path. Stay faithful in confidence. Keep brilliant. Every development you make puts you closer to what God meant for you. You are precisely where you are supposed to be. May your faith grow. May your life show grace, courage, and divine love. Your light will inspire always. You are a real-life illustration of how faith, trust in God, and resilience help every challenge become an opportunity for growth. Chapter 3. Using the truth to break the sleights of slander. There is an irresistible power in the truth. It first shows itself in such an instinctual manner that it calls for neither explanation or confrontation. It merely existing. Its brightness fills all the shadows illusions have produced. It is fascinating how, upon seeing the progress of someone who has experienced slander, doubts start to surface in the minds of individuals who, one day, relied on these lies. They start to doubt the stories they were told and wonder about how readily persuaded they were. Notes like, "I thought this person had no ambition," or "I thought they were stationary," became very frequent. These ideas capture the silence force of truth, which does not need words to be heard. The most fascinating thing is that those that disseminate false information find themselves caught in the consequences of their own conduct, while the victim of slander advances and prospers. Since the power of truth takes over the whole work, This kind of justice does not need victim effort. False assertions start to fade under the weight of deeds and development. Those who propagate the lies start to realize that their efforts not only failed, but actually accentuated the brightness and fortitude of those they meant to destroy. It appears that their attempt to switch off a light accidentally helped to highlight it even more. This dynamic exposes something important about the human core. The charges are meant for those who spread them, never aimed at the victim. Lies are mirrors of anxieties, wounds, and worries. Distributing them helps critics try to lessen the suffering they go through when seeing someone with potential they themselves are ignorant of. In essence, this reflects their actual nature. For them, this exposing process is not enjoyable. It is awkward, difficult, and usually lonely because the truth reveals the actual motives behind your behavior. The fact that the truth arises without assistance makes all of this much more significant. It does not call for sophisticated explanations or spectacular confrontations. It only seems, reinforced by concrete proof of development, vitality, and character. This is the way the lies are really silenced. This is about the awareness that someone who has been defamed exists absolutely evidence of the truth, not about passionate statements or debates. The progress speaks for itself. His natural and exact breaking of the bonds of slander leaves even his opponent stunned. This transformation not only marks a personal victory, but also a guide for all others in our vicinity. It is proof that your character, choices, will always triumph even if they say something about you, your behavior, or your determination. The truth has strong roots that cannot be buried. Hence, even if it attempts to smother you, you will rise once again. Time is thus a fantastic friend since it helps us. He lets lies fade as the truth becomes more potent. People who formerly thought the defamation was false now find themselves at a deadlock. They start to realize they were deceived, hence false narratives shape their views. Although many people find this embarrassing, it also offers an opportunity for learning. They obviously understand that the person they believed did not match what was shown to them. Rather, he is someone who has displayed undeniable honesty, elegance, and strength. This makes people doubt their own choices and points of view. Those who were misled, meanwhile, choose to develop rather than show anything to anybody. And one can clearly see this progression. It comes from the inside out and influences everyone who deals with that person. Since the present and what is to come take front stage, there is no need to turn back to the past. Resilience's actual strength is its capacity to keep on with the truth as your major source of inspiration. This modification has unquestionable effects. Even critics understand they were mistaken, even if they keep this secret from others. They come to see that their behavior not only failed, but also made them vulnerable. And it presents a hurdle they must overcome personally. Although and the truth emerges, it's as if a veil would be taken off, enabling the sharpness of our path to be brilliantly seen. Now evident to everybody, this increase is not the outcome of accident or fate. It follows line with trust, tenacity, and divine will, direct outcome of wise actions. Every decision to remain faithful, even under trying circumstances, is a quiet expression of trust in the ultimate goal it serves for our life. It is essential to avoid distractions that can divert our focus throughout this procedure. Those who chose light know that real progress needs for discipline, prayer, and a continuous dedication to truth, even if many fixate on transient pleasures or paths that offer quick gratification. Though it is not easy, this commitment is very fulfilling. Reflecting, praying, and silently acting in compliance help us to build the strong link with God that will support and direction us. There is unavoidable difference between those who choose light and those who stay imprisoned in darkness. Those who pick the road of ruin, often defined by parties, addictions, and attitudes that provide only transient solace, end up paying the consequences of their choices. Those who pursue spiritual, emotional, and personal growth start to reap non-negligible advantages in meanwhile. These are a peace and an inner vitality that surpass any circumstance. not just physical successes. As the journey goes on, this disparity becomes more and more evident. While some people stay in the same cycles, others who pursue the divine mission feel an elevation that goes beyond the physical or material. This surge is spiritual, strong, and transformational. God appears to be setting these individuals in a prominent role, not for their personal advantage, but rather to become live models of their kindness and devotion. The most interesting is how this privileged position makes people restless among those who do not know the actual meaning of spiritual growth. They see this shift and sometimes feel awkward. They find it incomprehensible that someone who has gone through so much should suddenly occupy a position of power, peace, and influence. Still, this pain relates to people who watch rather than those who climbed. It is a reflection of our doubts, a quiet warning that our choices have effects. For people who suffer with this restlessness, it might also be an opportunity to become awakened. Many people start to change their own paths and choices after seeing how discipline and faith affect their lives. Here, the light of divine purpose gets even more power, as it not only guides those who are lost, but also defines the path of those who pursue it. It is a lighthouse that inspires, draws in, changes. What God does in His favor of people who are devoted to Him is really remarkable. It protects the traps and assaults that show up on the path, as well as guides them to a spot where everyone may see their light. This ascent is about goal rather than position or power. It is an invitation to live deliberately, to reflect divine kindness and love, and to show the world the opportunities that follow from our choosing to trust Him. Still, this well-known posture comes with obligations. Those raised by God have to stay modest as they know their position is to glorify Him rather than for their own benefit. It reminds us that every action we do, every fight past due, and every knowledge gained adds to a greater scheme spanning our own goals and dreams. Nothing human thought or behavior can hide the clarity of divine plan. Driven by faith, tenacity, commitment to the truth, it emanates light from the inside out. When this light shows itself, it not only alters the existence of individuals who bear it, but also helps countless others to find their way. This makes divine purpose such a strong force. It is not just about ourselves, but also about the influence our life might have on the surroundings. This journey reminds us constantly that even seemingly little choices we make have a big effect. Every decision we make to believe in God, stay away from distractions, and keep us committed to our calling takes us closer to life He has planned for us. This life, lighted by the light of divine purpose, shows that there is always a manner of conquering, changing, and shining, regardless of how difficult the road is. Remember that this light is available to everyone, even for those who just notice, wonder, or find disturbed by this transition. God yearns that everyone experiences the power of His love and His objective. He does not just choose a few to thrive. But this experience calls for deliberate judgments, a dedication to the truth, and the will to follow a road that, while difficult, is very fulfilling. The divine plan's beauty resides in not only elevating but also changing us. He exhorts us to look past challenges, to have faith in the process, and to live with the belief that we are precisely where we should be. This clarity, this illumination, is what leads us, protects us, and maintains us at every level of life. Our faithfulness will help us to make sure that heavenly light will never stop shining in our life. Coming straight from the divine dimension, this light cannot be influenced by events or points of view of others. For those who decide to travel the road God has set, it is a continual force, a fire burning in their souls. Notwithstanding hardships, light endures to illustrate that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Every setback is a teaching tool. Every moment of doubt is a call to maintain faith. The solution is the close relationship with God. Even if people wonder as someone who has gone through so many challenges suddenly shines so brilliantly. This is a heavenly cooperation, not an isolated human endeavor where commitment and subordination help something more to show. This cooperation calls for courage as it frequently means opposing the stream, refusing the simple exits of the world, and committing oneself to a process that may appear detrimental, but is absolutely more strong and meaningful. Conversely, those who stay in obscurity often find it difficult to grasp this process. The success and advancement of someone who have chosen defamation disturbs them as they doubt their limited beliefs and expose their own mistakes. Often this pain is followed by jealousy, anger, even a fresh effort to minimize the progress of others. But the truth is that such feelings cannot hide the brightness of divine intention. Its origin is not earthly, hence it continues to shine exactly unaltered. The way this journey redefines success is maybe what most surprises about it. For those who are in touch with God, success is not just about monetary successes or public accolades, but also about the peace of knowledge that a more profound purpose is completing. The world cannot provide this peace, hence it is rather precious. It lets the person stroll securely without having to prove anything to anybody, as their confidence that it is precisely where it should be bases their security, not the views of others. This firmness shows humility rather than arrogance. Knowing that the great position you hold is a gift from God, given not to your glorification, but rather so that His glory may be seen by its presence. It is not any virtue of yours. With this viewpoint, everything changes. It alters our perspective of our challenges, our successes, even those of those who sought to hurt us. Ultimately, all of this is a component of a greater scheme designed always for our advantage. Unquestionably, as we traveled more on this path, the doors start to open. What appeared far off suddenly becomes reachable because God is in control and guides every activity. These opportunities are blessings for everyone who is touched by them, as well as for those who acquire them. This is thus because the divine objective is always more broad and influences life and changes reality in ways we usually cannot grasp. It is never limited to one individual. This is the true beauty derived from heavenly intention. He not only lifts us, but also makes use of us as tools so that others may see and feel divine grace. This is the reason this trip calls for so much dedication. It concerns not just our life, but also our influence on the planet we live on. Understanding this helps us to give every action we do, every choice we make even more significance. Every expiring barrier becomes even more relevance. Those who keep observing, with respect or restlessness, are gently invited to consider their own paths. One cannot dismiss the impact of a changed life. It motivates, starts a craving for change, and usually inspires. Living so really and in line with God's mission that draws others to the same goal is one of the most successful approaches of evangelizing. Those who choose light, however, continue on the path, not because everything is easy, but rather because they firmly believe that God drives every step. It is this assurance that keeps one going, even when doubts attempt to enter. As the tests of care and divine direction show more and more clear-cut, this confidence is constantly reinforced. This road towards the heavenly aim is an endless process rather than a destination. Every stride presents fresh challenges, fresh learning opportunities, and fresh possibilities for personal development, and more especially for uniqueness. As long as we are ready to follow the light, God will continue to lead us, to protect us, and to elevate us, not to our own acclaim, but rather so His love and mercies may be spoken through us. Chapter 5. Uncovering the actual goal. Those who often hurt us have more goals than what first shows. They speak more of the inner conflicts these individuals lock and less about ourselves. This is an ongoing cycle. When someone stands out with honesty, courage, and resolve, this surely exposes the spots of insecurity and inertia in others close to them. This light frequently creates pain rather than inspiration, as it compels these individuals to confront parts of themselves they would usually prefer to avoid. It was not what you did. Resentment did not start with a single speech, action, or deed. You are symbolic of this. His capacity to keep on growing despite hardships revealed what others could not be able to experience personally. Envy comes from their light illuminating what others are scared to see, who are imprisoned, who lacks guts to change or refuse to stop destructive activities. It does not show up because you made a mistake. This enables us to see that often, the assaults we experience are reflections of the internal conflicts these individuals possess. It does not excuse their behavior. They take the easiest answer as they cannot cope with the sense of inadequacy they feel when they compare to you. Try to cut off their light, not because it is the solution, but rather because it appears to be the most feasible right now. These people do not know, nevertheless, that the light from divine intent cannot be shut off. It is maintained by divine grace. Against it, no power can prevail. It is not connected to external events. You kept focus while these others were lost in diversions and squandering energy into jealous behaviors. You responded differently, and you did not get carried away by the anarchy they aimed to create. Rather, he kept on his path, grounded on his faith and the certainty that God was in charge. This choice has important consequences. You developed quietly, nourishing your spirit, your thoughts and soul, while others squandered time and energy with bad attitudes. Divine love not only shields you, but also transforms every effort to shoot you into a chance to uplift you. What was done against you turned back against those who did. This reminds us that nobody has the ability to thwart God's will for his life, and reflects divine justice in action. The basis of the words, lies, and destructive behavior was truth, hence they were useless. As usual, the truth found a channel of expression. This finding did not happen forcefully or under direction. It spontaneously surfaced, as sunshine removes shadows. People surrounding started to see reality. Unquestionably, your progress is great, your peace radiates, and you show strength. Meanwhile, the attitudes of those who sought to hurt you have started to expose more about them than about you. Their motives were clearly based on something more than anything specific you did, an example of resilience and connection to the divine purpose. When revealed, this truth burdened those who spread falsehoods. Now they cope with the discomfort of being seen as persons driven by jealousy and malice rather than as victims or fair people. Though painful, this collision with truth is necessary. Correcting these individuals or endorsing the results of their choices falls not on you. Your only responsibility was to be true to the path God had chosen for you. You have dutifully followed. The way this journey emphasizes the power of divine grace makes it most amazing. God is working for our advantage even if all around us powers want to destroy us. He turns what has been meant to hurt us something that strengthens and benefits us. This protection is actuality experienced by those who stay unballible in the faith, not just a promise. One clear illustration of this is you. This encounter also serves as a memory from which we should not worry about reacting to every slander or handling every assault. God takes care of everything at the proper moment when we believe in Him. Your objective, your truth, your light surpass any effort to hurt you. Ultimately, everything they attempted to do against you, but how God utilized it to elevate you. This elevation speaks not only of your outside reach, but also of the inside transformation. Every assault gave an opportunity for development. Every barrier brought you closer to God, and trust cleared every moment of doubt. This journey made you stronger, more informed, more fit for what is next. And nobody has the right to bring you out from here. Previously seeming to be an intended annihilation, what turned out to be strength, resistance, and faith. This testimony not only respects its path but also motivates other people. He shows that there is always a solution even in the face of opposition, and that even in seeming negative situations, there is always a bigger purpose being reached. Divine kindness keeps us alive, and its truth releases us. You provide the model of this. This proof is powerfully and definitely for the road you have followed is based on deeds, choices, and a close relationship with God, not on words or appearances. Every action you made, even little ones, was a step in the intended direction. This exactly makes your narrative so pertinent. It covers your chosen method of overcoming as much as what you succeeded to get beyond. Unlike those who choose paths of jealousy, distraction, and destruction, you have chosen faith, growth, and transformation. And this choice is the actual difference between those who stay caught in negative cycles and those who flourish. When someone is lighted by the divine purpose, this light shows what has to be healed in the individuals close by. Not because you tried to, but rather because your presence, deeds, and truth reflect back to you. They reveal vulnerabilities, worries, and pains maybe unaccustomed to these people have experienced. Although this revelation might be unpleasant, it also offers an opportunity for change, wherein these individuals could review their choices and search for something more important. Not everyone, meantime, is ready to face this reality. For others, trying to turn out your own light instead of igniting it helps them to vent their anger in you. But this strategy is never successful, as the light coming from God cannot be controlled. It cannot be removed by human activities, nor subjected to outside influences. It is sustained by divine grace. Hence, even in the middle of difficulty, you keep shining. These people did not realize, nevertheless, that the attempt to destabilize you highlighted even more your power. Every transgression, every nasty remark, every lie fed its course. Not because it was required to prove anything to someone, but rather because such situations helped you put even more faith in God, increase your closeness with Him, and thereby strengthen the purpose He has set for your life. This is what gives your accomplishment such fullness. It is within as well as outward. It is a victory of belief, resilience, and peace. Those who want to hurt you deal with the consequences of your choices. You progress free from the resentment load. This is the expression of grace that exists in action. While forgiving breaks free from bonds that could bind you to the past, it does not mean endorsing or condoning previous behavior. This forgiveness is meant for you, not for them. It is a decision to let what they have done to shape their lives to fade. This kind of behavior lets you seize fresh chances, blessings, and degrees of growth. The truth shown not only relieves you, but also warns others who sought to discredit you. They now have to deal with the fact that their acts were exposed, that their goals were not sincere, and that their words had no resonance. Though it is not easy, this is a necessary chore. You follow silently, knowing there is nothing more to prove or fix as they go through this surgery. Their presence, their deeds, their brightness speak for themselves. This peace helps you to keep on securely without turning around. Not that the past is useless, but because it does not define you now. Every moment of hardship, every injustice, every challenge turned into something that built you. Now you are in a situation where you may ponder all this with thankfulness, not by the agony itself, but for what it has produced in you. The beauty of divine intention is that it turns even the most difficult circumstances into one that benefits its well-being. And you are not alone entitled to this advantage. For individuals in such situations, its path serves as a guide. Your faith, fortitude, and will remind us that even if everything appears to be working against us, it is possible to overcome, grow, and flourish. His presence is a clear evidence that God works in everything for the advantage of those who love Him and are called for His will. You progress, focused on what is really important, while the others search, with adoration, guilt, or discomfort. In the end, it is not about what other people believe, say, or do. Refers to what God is doing through in His presence, and what He is doing is not something one can stop. Driven by the holy goal, its light will endure to shine, lighting not just its path but also that of countless others in need of this impetus. Living so really and in line with God's will, that nothing and no one can wipe what He started in you, is the real accomplishment. Chapter 7. The Tranquility of Departure and the Freedom of Pardon. One of the most important exhibits of spiritual freedom and power is true forgiveness. Above all, this is an act to release people who forgive the emotional weight that may hold them, not just to favor those who are forgiven. While forgiving does not mean eradicating or diminishing what has been done, it is refusing to let injuries drag you back from your progress. Giving peace, freedom, and purpose top importance above any resentment that could corrode the spirit is a deliberate choice. This process is rather freeing as it lets us manage our response to events that have damaged us. It is not about defending immoral behavior or acting as if it has not affected anything. For individuals who desire to live simply and in line with the divine plan, this is a self-love gesture that says, I refuse to allow what they have done to decide as I. Have you ever stopped to wonder why, despite all your achievements, it feels like something essential is still missing? My name is Gabriel, and I've helped countless people like you discover the true spiritual power that resides within them. And today, I want to help you. If you feel like life is passing by while something important remains out of place, maybe it's time for an awakening. My audiobook, The Path of the Chosen, was created precisely for those who have reached this point. In this audiobook, I guide you to feel that enthusiasm for living in alignment with what truly matters, knowing that every step has meaning. Together, we'll transform your fears, traumas, and frustrations into powerful strengths that propel you to a new level of growth. Leave behind the feeling of spiritual isolation and find the peace of a true, constant connection with a greater energy that has always been by your side. Instead of fighting against what you feel, you'll learn to find purpose, serenity, and self-discovery to fill your inner world. This could be the beginning of a fuller, more meaningful life. I've seen it happen for so many others, and now it's your turn. Don't let this opportunity slip by. Click on the link pinned in the first comment and begin this journey with The Path of the Chosen. This is your chance to fill what's missing and finally live the life you deserve. I'll be waiting for you there. Will lead my life forward. This is not easy, but it is very necessary. One part of this liberating process is defining limitations. Forging forgiveness does not mean opening the doors to those who harmed us in the past. Usually the best tool for maintaining the peace we fight for is the distance. We must realize that nobody is entitled to a spot on the journey God has booked for us. Though some had an opportunity to show integrity, respect, and kindness, many chose otherwise. By their attitudes, they have shown that they are not ready to walk along us. Prudence rather than animosity drives this choice to keep apart. Through forgiveness, one may lessen the weight of suffering. Nevertheless, this does not mean discounting the lessons acquired. Protecting your vitality, peace, and progress is a sign of accountability fit for the goal God has set for His creation. Those who chose light should, after all, not let themselves go back to darkness of relationships or situations that provide nothing good. You let fresh benefits into your life by forgiving and imposing reasonable restrictions. It is like preparing ground to raise something strong and fresh. Previously employed by animosity, the energy now directs itself into the growth, production, and manifestation of what God had intended for you. In this emancipation, you find a form of peace that the earth cannot offer, a peace derived from the profound awareness that divine grace shields and guides the path of life. This peace is a continuous memory the past cannot define the future. You have no need of endorsing the suffering or shortcomings of others. Not yours. They are the qualities of those who committed them. Choosing to release these bales helps you to retake control over your narrative. There is nowhere for introspection or emotions that bind you to what is gone. Only the present moment full of possibilities and the future, glistening with God's promises. It's not a one-time deed either. It's rather a continuous habit. New aggressions may show up as we grow in our profession, and fresh challenges might try our capacity to set us free and forward. But every time we decide on forgiveness, we deepen our spirit and restate our will to live in peace. It is like the development of a muscle over time. It makes us less vulnerable to the consequences of outside events and more resistant gradually. For those who have harmed you, forgiveness also sends a strong message. According to Him, your life continues regardless of what you did or said. His actions have no effect on you now. It is evidence of your resilience and your relationship with something more grand. You progress, free and peaceful, certain that your focus is being channeled to something much more significant, while they negotiate the effects of your actions. This independence lets you concentrate entirely on the goal God has set for your life. It is not looking back to try to explain or defend what occurred. Conversely, your viewpoint is oriented on the future, the chances that arise, and the already underway benefits. For those who choose light, this emphasis is really vital. He makes sure you stay on the road God has set for your life, free from any diversion, assault, recollection of the past. At last, this road of pardon and elimination is a show of trust in God. It is realizing that He directs every phase of His path and addresses injustices, heals what was harmed. God is already looking after everything, hence you have no need for making corrections for what was done against you. And as long as He accomplishes this, His sole responsibility is to keep on, live fully, and let His light to shine more and more powerfully. Real forgiveness is beautiful, as it not only releases but also strengthens you. By choosing forgiveness, peace, and healthy distance, you reassert your identity as an individual led by divine purpose, whose light cannot be darkened by events or others. You are not decided by what occurred. You are free. That freedom reflects directly in your life heavenly grace. This freedom is transforming as it drastically changes your perspective on the planet. She teaches you that walking gently with hands open to embrace what God is continuously pouring into your life is what defines life, not trying to bear the weight of others. Choosing to forgive from the heart lets the universe, and you know you are ready for the new chapter, free from the bonds of the past and the chains of pain. This choice is a statement of your desire not to be molded by the deeds of others. You selected the road of ascent despite everything they did to damage or devaluate you. Not everyone has this ability, hence it is exactly what distinguishes you. Forging forgiveness is for strong individuals who know that clinging to resentment is like swallowing poison in the hopes of someone else suffering. You decided to save that cup and concentrate on all the wonderful opportunities yet to arise. Sacred is this peace that accompanies forgiveness. Knowing that you have given all to God brings a great calm instead of a forced grin to cover the suffering. You know that He is fair and that His time and desire will guide resolution of every wrong. Knowing that the future God has waiting for you is far better than any past sorrow. Hence this spiritual peace lets you continue without looking back, knowing there is no need to replay what has already occurred. It's amazing how the surroundings change when you forgive. People start to note its clarity, power, and lightness. They understand they are not limited to the stories meant to control them anymore. Your presence reminds us that while in the most difficult circumstances, we can conquer and flourish. And for others who watch her from a distance, her path starts to inspire. Its light, now even more strong, signals to others who may be caught in their own misery that there is a remedy. Keeping your distance from those who have offended you is a sign of spiritual insight and self-love, not of selfishness. You know it is natural, as not everyone is ready to walk with you. Some individuals entered your life momentarily to act as teachings instead than continual presences. Let them stay when they have already shown that they are not in line with their goal would be dishonesty toward the tranquility you have so laboratively created. Maintaining a good distance implies protection rather than solitude. It serves as a barrier that guarantees only those who cherish and appreciate your light will be able to approach the world without stopping it. Defining these boundaries opens the path for real, meaningful connections tuned with your own life and what you are becoming. This invites better interactions and a more whole life rather than closure. Deep spiritual maturity also shows in this decision to go on, forgive, and set tough limits. He is aware that not everyone has the right to his power, that not all fights have to be waged, and that he cannot carry all the obligations. This is insight, not assumption. Knowing that you have been invited to something better and that you have to be in tune with the surroundings and yourself to respond to this call. The path of forgiveness reminds us forcefully that while the past cannot be altered, it can be reorganized. Once agony, it has now become strength. Once animosity, it has evolved into education. And what was previously considered a loss has now become a quiet but powerful triumph. Every choice to pardon and release what is no longer valuable is evidence that you are forward-looking, free from constraints, with a clean mind and heart. It is something that lets you move securely. One might get the benefits previously arranged by God by means of forgiveness. It lets you investigate other routes, create fresh stories, and live with the belief that, when you are in line with divine destiny, nothing can stop you. Nobody has the authority to deprive you of this freedom. It is a gift, a direct expression of the grace working in your life. You have the freedom to go on free from clinging to the past, even as people who harmed you must make choices and deal with their results. Future filled of possibilities, opportunities, and happy moments awaits you. Only because you choose to forgive, release yourself, and believe God could all of this be accomplished. This choice raised your emotional, psychological, even bodily levels in addition to spiritual ones. You are in a position of power, peace, and direction. The true accomplishment resides here. It's about knowing someone lives in truth, grace, and freedom, not about proving anything to them. What was done to you no longer determines you. You are really appreciating what God has to offer. And that is the best gratification, a life spent in peace, lit by light, and with tremendous direction. Chapter 8. Divine Retribution and Justice for Acts. Though quietly, the idea of divine justice functions consistently. It is an unchangeable power that guarantees every person receives precisely what he seeds. Those who choose lies, manipulation, and destruction now pay for their own deeds. Supported by lies and intrigues, what formerly seemed as a transient advantage falls beneath the weight of the truth. Once thought-effective strategies start to show themselves as weak, like castles constructed on the sand. Now isolated are the bridges you torched in trying to damage the main character. The people surrounding start to see that the words spoken were fake, that the attitudes taken were motivated by envy and anger, and that those who offended were really battling their own fears. The public disgrace they intended to inflict on others now works against them, not as a kind of retribution, but rather as a mirror of the choices they took. The primary character stays firm meantime. What he decided to do in reaction defines his life now more than what was done to him. Rather than respond, he chose faith, believing God to be the last judge. This confidence was fulfilled. The two paths diverge completely from one another. On the one hand, the painful outcome of deeds grounded in negativity. On the other, the pleasures of a life led by integrity, kindness, and commitment to divine purpose. This variation provides significant evidence of the influence of our choices. Even in the face of hardship, by following the road of truth and light, we are planting seeds that will surely produce fruits of peace, wealth, and full satisfaction. Conversely, individuals who sow dissension, lies, and animosity end up alone, regretful, and with unavoidable consequences. The most amazing fact is that divine justice does not call for human action. God is already acting, hence there is no need for one to get even. He watches everything, knows emotions, and performs flawless behavior to make sure every move gets the right reaction. This knowledge offers great peace. Knowing that we don't have to try to fix every wrong helps us to concentrate on our own progress, mental tranquility, and objective. The main character emphasizes the real power derived from trust in God by being unchangeable. He is aware that the truth always shines out, hence he should not worry about the lies stated or the complex schemes. Its presence is a clear evidence of how religion and morality create a safe road independent of the challenges faced. Critics struggle with his words and deeds, but the main character continues on in development. He gains from a life lived with intention, from choices tuned to divine purpose, from a heart that chooses peace over strife. This harvest addresses the spiritual as much as the tangible. It is a gathering of peace, wisdom, and pleasure transcending all circumstances. For every one of us, this exercise serves as a strong reminder. Every choice we make, seeds are sowed. Whether our activities are positive or negative, we cannot escape the consequences of them. Living deliberately with intent and in sync with what is true and fair is thus really vital. Choosing to sow love, morality, and compassion will help us to create a future reflecting these qualities. Divine justice helps one to develop humility likewise. It reminds us that we have no duty to undo all of the injustices or fix the behavior of other people. God performs this job well. It is His. Our responsibility is to go with faith, act morally, and believe that everything will be settled at the suitable moment. This humility releases us from the weight of attempting to influence what is beyond our reach and gives us the ability to live totally free from the interruptions of anger or retaliation. For individuals who choose the route of negativity, handling the consequences of their deeds presents a teaching moment. Though it's not something easy or appealing, it may be transformative. This is an opportunity to reflect, search for changes, and realize that from which none is free. Universal principles control every aspect of life. Ultimately, what shows clearly is that divine justice is perfect. It works precisely to make sure everyone gets exactly what they want. This reality promises as well as warns. For those who chose the road of destruction, this is a warning reminding them that their choices produce outcomes. For those who chose the road of light, it is a promise that their faith, kindness, and honesty will never be in uselessness. This knowledge gives us the required will to keep on even in the face of difficulty. It reminds us that there is a bigger aim being reached and that we are not alone. Our efforts are not useless. This belief will help us to live in peace, security, and with the delight of knowledge that finally, the truth will always prevail. Chapter 9. Evidence of Transformation. Among the most powerful statements of divine favor is change. It not only changes the life of those who go through it, but also serves as a guidance for everyone who observes it. Regarding the main character, his road of conquering beyond conventional wisdom on what was practical. Originally an effort at annihilation, a try to extinguish his light, it turned into the basis for a strong and motivating rebirth. Those who used to doubt or even back the assaults now have to deal with a fact they cannot ignore: change. One cannot argue against the consequences of this development. It is something beyond the tangible, the physical. Driven by deliberate actions, unwavering trust, and a strong relationship with the divine goal, this metamorphosis starts from the inside out. Previously seen to be vulnerable, someone who might be easily vanquished, the person now exudes strength that not only motivates, but also challenges. More than words could say, your presence, your attitudes, and your quiet silence scream volumes. This is not about getting even or proving anything to other people. It's about appreciating the process itself, choosing light instead of darkness. Thinking that God has a bigger goal even in the most trying circumstances. Apart from overcoming challenges, the main character utilized them as a catalyst for personal development, enhancement, and even closer proximity to his intended self. Unquestionably, this road of atonement is a great testimonial. Those who propagate lies stay caught in the consequences of their own deeds, even when the main character develops. Apart from the guilt of being revealed, their uneasiness at realizing that all their efforts to damage him turned out to be strengthening rather than negative. This cycle of regret is unavoidable as the light of truth not only highlights those who have it, but also exposes the darkness of those who attempted to eradicate it. This relationship is particularly fascinating since the main character's transformation did not come from direct confrontations or self-justifications. It surfaced as forgiveness, resiliency, and a deliberate choice to believe God. He chose to focus his energies on something much more important, his own development, instead of what had transpired to him. And that decision had great influence. He not only triumphed, but also became a real model of what is achievable when we choose faith in the face of hardship. This road not only motivates those who consider it, but also encourages thorough introspection. Many who see this transformation start to wonder, if he was able to overcome and thrive, what does that say about my own struggles? What does this expose about the choices I have taken? This influence transcends the personal. It creates currents of inspiration that affect even the most far-off life events. Transformational change is therefore a gift to everyone who has the chance to see it, not just a personal victory. Simultaneously, this transformation reminds us strongly that there is no better tool for conquering than faith and pardon. The main character can have opted for despair, retribution, or even renouncing of activities. But he picked the toughest path, that one calls for humility and bravery, that is forgiving, releasing, and moving on. His decision exalted him, sharpened his intellect even more, and revealed the actual character of those who attempted to discredit him. People who used to attack him now find themselves in an internal conflict. They have to own that their acts were driven more by wounds and insecurity than by the truth. This helps individuals to make a decision, either keep caught in this loop or look for personal transformation. The path of the main character invites everyone, even those who assaulted him, to reflect on their own choices and the consequences they produce for the earth. This shift reminds us too that hardship is never permanent. They may mark the start of something much more expansive than our aspirations. God is skilled at using what is meant to throw off us as tools for personal development. And the life of the main character reflects this reality exactly. His path shows that, even at the worst of times, there is a light just waiting to surface. We simply have to choose to believe in the process. This chapter's central thesis is very clear. Transformation is always possible regardless of our circumstances or the actions done to us. Though it is not easy, this opportunity is very gratifying. This shift becomes unavoidable when we decide to follow divine purpose. It not only makes us better, but also inspires others to seek the same personal development in their life. The main character exists today as continual evidence that tenacity, forgiveness, and faith can transform any circumstance. Though her path was not perfect, her authenticity is exactly what gives her such force. Every choice taken, every obstacle surmounted, every moment of sorrow turned into power is part of a greater story that keeps touching and motivating everyone around it. One power acting softly but totally transformative is divine grace. For those who decide to trust in His plan, it not only protects, but also directs and drives. The path of the main character provides empirical evidence of this ability. He did not arrive at this point of peace, wealth, and direction by accident. Rather, he arrived at this place by divine blessing at all phases of the road. Every moment of doubt, every assault, every obstacle was surmounted under the faith that God was with him, acting as an impassable shield against any deceit or dishonesty that emerged against him. This protection goes beyond just stopping the assault count from increasing. It also provided ready ground for something more significant. God was quietly laying a road to success, while his enemies focused their might on attempting to remove him. Now they seem far off, confused, and unable to know how someone who faced so many difficulties not only survived, but also flourished. They do not realize that this energy comes from a relationship with something beyond the confines of the planet, not from human endeavor. Chapter 10. Divine Grace's Guard. Divine grace not only protects against evil, but also turns it into good. God guided all efforts meant to damage the main character to equip him, counsel him, and get him ready for what was ahead. One of the most clear indicators of God's allegiance is this reverse direction. He not only stops evil from winning, but also uses it to create something far more potent and pertinent. What counts is how this path shows that real ascension is about purpose, rather than rank or accolade. The peace the main character now finds is not just the absence of strife, but also the presence of something much more, a consent with the divine purpose. Only awareness that you are precisely where you are meant to be, achieving exactly what you were meant to be doing, can provide you peace of mind. Neither something the world can provide, nor something it can take away. Previously devoting so much time and effort to attempt to destabilize him, critics find themselves impotent today. Their energy and authority over their story have been denied. Watching from a distance while the main character drives on motivated by heavenly pity is the only other option. This not only marks his victory, but also shows what is possible for every one of those who decide to believe in God. This protection does not mean that the trip was easy or devoid of challenges, but it shows that there was a better power supporting him in every time of hardship. This force distinguishes the difference. She is in charge of turning a seeming failure into an opportunity for development. It gives the required bravery to keep on even if everything appears to be working against you. And ultimately, it is what guarantees that the objective, the truth, the light, will always triumph. The best motivation comes from how this elevation directly mirrors God's allegiance. Whichever the outcome, he stayed true. Every prayer was answered, every tear shed, every struggle battled with him as the protagonist. This allegiance reminds us that God does not desert those who believe in him. He is at work shielding us, directing us, and getting us ready for something more significant, even if we may appear alone. Every person who travels with this invitation also follows it. She exhorts us to think on our own life, our choices, and our relationship with God. She reminds us that everyone who chooses to trust has grace, so we do not have to battle alone. This gift not only protects, but also enables us to surpass, grow, and flourish in unexpected directions. An illustration of what occurs when we give our problems to God is the peace and quiet the main character now encounters. They result from an unquestionable confidence in divine faithfulness, not from perfect circumstances. This is real victory. Surmount challenges in a manner that respects God and inspires others to travel the same road. Ultimately, this story is about what's practical for all of us, not just for one individual. It reminds us that everyone is entitled to God's kindness. His protection is real. His plan is always better and more efficient than anything we could imagine. The path of the main character is a call to receive this gift, trust in this purpose, and live with the confidence that, for God, nothing is unreachable.